stage here. And I think that you are going to have a blast listening to her topic. She is just so brilliant. Elaine, here's the stage for you. I'm going to spotlight.
Thank you. Hey, everybody, put your hands together and give yourself some applause and some energy. And if you want to, if you're tired, I know it's the end of the day, feel free to like stand up and stretch and move and shake your body, because woo, people have been dropping some pearls. And it's like, I kept thinking, there's so much I want to say, but I'm so in my head. And so this is one of my tips. I've been a pro speaker forever. You'll hear about that. But when I'm waiting to go on or towards the end of the day, I try to really move to get out of here, because I have bad posture. So I can do better when I stand up. So anyway, feel free. And I love to take, here's a super tip. Okay. So you're going to breathe in through your nose and you're going to exhale through your teeth on an S like this. One more time, breathing in through the nose. Exhale. And one more time, because it feels good to get oxygen. Okay, anybody feel more energized? Like, oh, I did some deep belly breathing. Yeah. So a lot of times we hold our breath, and I am going to talk about performance and video, because we've already had so much wisdom dropped, right? So much wisdom. And one thing I do want to say is I love preaching video and speaking. And I feel like when you learn how to manage yourself under pressure, which can be in front of 500 people, or maybe the camera freaks you out, or anywhere in between, the more you do it, the more comfortable you will become. And stage time is stage time is stage time. So yes, if I was speaking to a crowd in person, I would be working the room, but that would make you guys dizzy. So I'm not going to do that, right? But there are a lot of carryovers. So how do you get better at something? You do it. And you do the speaker boot camp, because that sounds awesome. So, and one other thing I just wanted to add into that conversation, because I had the privilege of speaking professionally a long time ago. I had agents and a whole team, and now I do a lot of speaking for free when I'm in front of my ideal people, and I'm still open to the other stuff. So one of the conversations you can always ask is, well, how much is your budget? Do you have a budget? And then that way you don't, because sometimes people are wanting to talk to you and they just want you to give them a number. And so I always say, well, let's have a conversation. What is your budget? Tell me more about your event. And so that I try to create it like a win-win for both of us, instead of like, well, how much do you charge? Does that make sense? So, and maybe you mentioned that, Lisa, but I just thought that's a really good thing to, we need to repeat things, right? We need to hear things because we're adult learners. So awesome. So yeah, so I had the privilege of getting to teach humor and storytelling on the cruise that I was on, where I met Haley. And I'm just a huge fan of short form video and learning to tell stories in bite-sized pieces. It's like today's a great example. So much wisdom, so many amazing things coming at us, right? I don't know about you, but my brain is a little bit like, I feel like there's clouds of smoke coming out, right? And so, and think about the average person is on their phone, what, eight hours a day, 10, what is the latest statistic, right? So how do we stand out, right? So I want you to start thinking, stop the scroll. And obviously you don't want to do anything that's too off brand, but it's okay to pattern interrupt, right? So sometimes when I'm shooting, I'll do that with my hand. Some people do a knock knock and be like, hey, let me ask you a question. Now that might not fit for you, but I invite you to start thinking in terms of fun and humor and energy, right? And so when you can add that, it's like a breath of fresh air, right? We all want that. And here's the cool thing. So I'm inviting you to just play with humor, right? I'm not saying quit your day jobs and go become a stand-up. When people go to a comedy club, a lot of times they're like, make me laugh, right? But they don't expect that of speakers. when you're, have you ever done that where you're like, oh, I hope the speaker's not bad, right? Have you ever like breathed for a speaker because you were worried that they were going to like fall off the podium because they were so nervous? So if you walk out there on camera or in person and you crack a joke or can say something self-deprecating, the audience is going to be like, oh, they're going to like sigh. They're going to have relief, like, oh, we don't have to worry about this one. And so the bar is much lower. And so I just want you to be thinking about different and creative and out of the box ways that you can talk about who you are, who you serve, and what makes you uniquely qualified. You know, a lot of times I don't believe in scripts. I like to think of, I do little, I use my Post-it notes like crazy. And what's cool is you can put them right on your screen, right? And there's nothing wrong with saying, I want to check this really quick because I want to make sure I don't miss anything. Okay, great. You see that? Like I wasn't sneaky about it. I wasn't like, oh God, I'm so bad. You know, we're human, right? And how do we have conversations? In real life, we go, what was it? Oh yeah, we met in January and then we did this, right? Nobody goes like this in every conversation. That would be creepy and weird, right? There's a saying for that and it's not correct. You know, it's scatological, so I won't say it. But so I just invite you to keep thinking about how can you share your story in your own cool, unique way, right? And so that's one thing I want to think about. And then when I like to focus on performance as well, but like from a really authentic place. And most people are scared of the camera still. Can I get some people? So yeah, so I always talk about coming from your inside out, coming from your why. And we've talked about this already today about your ideal people, your beloved avatar. And so, you know, I did commercials in the 80s and I had to do this one and I'd be like, you know, Sheridan, I've been thinking about your breath. Have you tried Colgate? So that to me is a great example of one person, one problem, one solution, right? Because if we put the camera on and we're thinking of, I'm talking to the whole World Wide Web, our heads will explode, right? But if you think about it, how do we consume videos? Usually it's you and your computer, you and your phone. We don't, you know, so when you can think about, I'm just talking to my most beloved avatar, that can help you kind of drop in. So that's one of my favorite little nuggets to share. And then you want to have some idea, right? We don't want to see the people that are like, I just wing it all the time. Because I know I used to do that. You can go on my YouTube, the early days. It's like Ramble City, right? That's another thing that's great about short form. It forces you get to practice being concise and speak in sound bites, which will serve you when you get media. Because let me tell you, as a comedian, I had to go do radio spots at 6 and 7 in the morning when you had a show the night before. Very hard to be funny and not cuss and be awake and alive in super short things. So this working on getting really concise with what you're going to say it's going to serve you in many, 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 many ways. So jump on the video train, even if you've been like, you know, and I tell people, like, wherever you are, if you have a friend in this awesome community, buddy up and say, hey, I'm going to send you a video every day for a week, just me telling a story or a monologue or a joke or something, and you do it back. If you do that 7 days in a row, you will be a different person. How do we get better at stuff? We do it and we practice, and sometimes we are not great, but then we keep going. Okay, so that's what I talked about. One person, one problem, one solution. And then you also want to think about, you know, Katerina talks about that super tip, right? So what is one thing you can tell your person? And you can always say, hey, are you an overwhelmed mompreneur and you feel like you never have enough time in the day? You're not alone. In fact, you're in the right place. Here's one tip, but and stay tuned because I've got a whole series of these. So make sure you follow me and I'll see you when I do this again. So that's a great example that could be live or recorded. And it's a great lesson in like, you're just giving this like one little thing, and then you're inviting them to come along for the ride, right? Our goal is that we're so good at hooking people in that when they finally discover us, they're like, oh my God, I met this woman, Haley. And then I binged everything she had to do because she was amazing. I want to make you bingeable, right? And so, and the algorithms would rather people watch all of your 58-second video than half of a 5-minute. No one's going to do 5 minutes these days. Let's be realistic. 3 minutes, right? And so that's why when you can learn to take out the fluff, it's going to serve you. Now you may be going, but Elaine, I don't know how to do this. So editing, everybody, I want you to get, there is an app called CapCut. Sorry, my thing is yours. It's white with the little black squiggly things. It is a free piece of software, free app, and it's super simple editing. And so I really encourage you. And I know I'm like, I don't like tech either, but I have learned to like breathe and try to be friends with it. And then when it doesn't work, I try to laugh, at the irony, like the lady who was going to teach us systems, how ironic, right? Oh, that's another good reason. You always want to have a cue or a set list in case your PowerPoint does that. Trust me, I have spoken in 43 states and 4 countries, and even the best tech people, sometimes something is off with the system, somebody screwed with it the night before, the regular guy is sick, the regular person has a bad like I cannot even tell you the buckets of sweat I have sweated. And so there are many times for whatever reason, the slides didn't work or the clicker stopped. I was at a military base in Vegas and the clicker stopped and it was 100 degrees already and standing room only. Talk about buckets of sweat, right? And so you always want to have a cheat sheet if you're not fully memorized. And it doesn't mean you have to have everything memorized, but you need to have a sense of the order and the flow. So if I can, impart that on you, and I'm sure if you go to speaker boot camp, you guys will talk about that, because I just think it's better to have a sense of what you're going to talk about, but not have it memorized, right? Because we want to connect with people. We want them to feel us. We want them to feel the energy in our heart and who we are and why we started our business and the difference we want to make, right? And if I'm trying to be perfectly polished, you see how I left? Like, oh, hi, I'm teaching and oh, what's next? So I left. You felt it, right? And so we don't want to do that. We want to like be with people. And I'm not saying you have to be perfect and high energy and a spaz the way I can be, but we want your own version of energetic. It takes more energy to come through the cameras than if we were live and in person. Okay, so now another thing I love to do with my videos and my talks are hooking questions, right? There's nothing worse than sitting there, and nobody's done that this the past 2 days, but there's nothing worse than having somebody, hi, thank you so much, Haley, for having me. I'm really honored to be here and I'm really excited. And today I'm going to talk about like that they're gone, right? If somebody was watching that video anywhere else, they'd be gone. We have 7 seconds. So you want to be like, hey, let me ask you a question. Or are you an overwhelmed entrepreneur who's always wanted to write a book and you just feel overwhelmed about it? Have I got a thing for you, right? Like that last thing, which I've done group books. That is a ridiculously fabulous offer. And I wasn't already doing one. And another thing, I would be running to go do that book with the abundance thing. So that's awesome. So anyway, I love doing the hooking questions because I feel like it's another pattern interrupt. So that's another way, because our brains, we like movement. Here's another super tip, right? So when you're shooting with your phone, which I hope you all will come, I have a free masterclass and I have a confidence on camera checklist. So I hope that you all come. You always want the camera to be slightly above eye level. It's more flattering and it will take 10 pounds and 10 years off of you. So why not, right? So another thing is you can walk in a circle. I'm not really talking, but and so it creates like some movement behind you. Obviously I'm not spinning, but that's one way to break up. If we just do talking head videos every time, that gets boring, the profile grids, whatever. So I invite you to have variety. Another super tip is you can walk and talk. Obviously, focus on where you're walking so you don't fall down. But the best time of day to shoot is, they call it the golden hour in Hollywood, when the sun is getting close to setting, like 5 o'clock. You've all seen it. It's like this golden and everybody looks gorgeous and tall and thin. It's amazing. So the next time you're out, if you have decent background, I invite you to walk and talk. And you could even just, here's another super tip. Oh, and another thing I want to tell you. And you know what else? Let me tell you about my amazing client, Heather, who is kicking butt with her talks, right? So you can always go back and edit, right? And that's why I love CapCut, because then you're not, sometimes the platforms like Instagram and TikTok can get really glitchy. And even though I have worked in their editors a lot, I think it's good if you can do it straight to your phone, because ideally the platforms want you to post natively. That's a whole other conversation. But walking and talking is another great way to create movement that our brains like. Okay, are you guys having fun? Are we breathing? Haley said I could do my one-woman show. It's only like 2 hours. So are you guys cool with? I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. I just wanted to see if you're listening. Okay, good. Okay. Are we having fun? You gotta have fun. Oh, that's another thing. Can you let yourself be human and have a little fun, right? So here's the thing, right? We have this thing called imposter syndrome that's like right there. And the minute we step into the next level of higher visibility, right, that comes up. It's not going away. I spent $1 million trying to get rid of it. And then we also have perfectionism. And this is my peanut gallery. And there's other stuff too, right? And they're always kind of with me. So I've learned how to turn down the volume, right? So I say, oh, you're just trying to protect me. I know what I'm doing. I've been performing since the 2nd grade. I'm good. And the perfectionism, nobody's really perfect. I'm not trying to be an Instagram influencer, skinny Barbie mom with the perfect hair and the perfect husband and the perfect kids. Oh yeah, I'm not auditioning for Broadway anymore. So I get to have conversations with myself, and I get to be current. Oh, right. So I think whenever we're stepping out, I'm going to make more videos, those two come up. And so we get to, as coaches, thought leaders, speakers, badass women, healers, therapists, we get to go, oh, it's okay. Oh yeah, you know what, Elaine, you're not auditioning for the 21-year-old. Oh, right. Because I still fight that of like, my hair's crazy, I got wrinkles, there's always going to be that voice. You're so, why didn't you do that? Well, if you were such a good speaker, you would have been a millionaire, like all those conversations, right? And so if you can add humor and learn to sort of tame those inner critics, that will serve you. And then the original point I was going to make was, we don't buy from perfect people, right? We want to work with human beings who we can relate to. So, I love Marie Forleo. She is gorgeous. She is thin. She is tall. She is a cute boyfriend. I have never been able to relate to her. So, there's plenty of other people that I have fallen in love with, but she's not my person. But that's okay. She's doing great, right? So, like, I try to be real and raw and unpolished, because that's my vibe. And if you want someone who's perfectly polished and coiffed, I'm not your girl probably. And that's okay. There's enough, right? There's enough. So I think it's a really good habit to remind you, because we bump up against it. Oh, right. I'm not trying to be an Instagram influencer. All I need is my little tribe, right? Which is big if you're Haley, right? So I just think it's good to learn how to navigate, right? Because I can tell you all day long, get the light, put it here, don't wear stripes, don't wear neon unless you're Heather and you're cool and you can rock anything. Yeah, I can talk all about the outside stuff, but we all know it's the inside things that really screw us up, right? And so hopefully if you can bring a little humor and some compassion and remind yourself, oh, right. I'm not trying to be a Stepford wife. Oh, yeah. Okay. So that is, one of my other super tips. Oh, Susan, thank you. Yes, I love to bring the fun. That's another good point. So when I was scripting, I did my first Facebook ads during a launch several years ago. I spent a lot of money and I had one sale, but boy, I learned a lot after I cried a lot. But I was doing this script and I was like trying to be like, are you trying to be a speaker? You know, I was, and my person who was helping me said, Elaine, suddenly you turned into a 70s public service announcement. Like, what happened to you? And I want you to hear this. I was trying to get it right. I was a straight A student, anybody else? And I wanted to get the good grades. I was trying to get the script right because I'm a good girl and I'm a perfectionist, even though I'm a sloppy perfectionist. Anyway, so that was really important for me to go, oh, and I imagine there might be some other people who can relate to that, right? And so, yes, you want to have a plan about what you're saying. And I always remind people, nobody is sitting there judging you and go, oh, she missed a T, right? And so, and another thing, the other day I was shooting, I've been in the process of redoing my website forever. And I was like, I'm gonna finish these videos. And I had to shoot, I reshot like 10 times. But I just like gave myself some space. I think so many times as overachieving, super badass women and smart men, we think I should be able to knock this out. I've been doing that. I teach this. I should be able to knock it out. Or I've been speaking my whole life. Well, that can be constraining. So, you know, can you bring some levity? Can you bring some breathing? And yeah, you know what? I did 10 takes because I'm not a perfectionist anymore with that, but I kept thinking, I think I can do a little better. I think I can do it a little better. And I still kept it to an hour. I was like, I'm not doing this for more than an hour. So give yourself some space is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so we've talked about hooking questions. We've talked about one person, one problem, one solution. We've talked about, I guess, does anybody, oh, good. That's me, super detailed over analyzer. Yes, yes, yes. And so I'm about, let's find the middle ground. We don't need you to try to cram a whole chapter of your book in a video, but we also don't want you to just ramble. Woo, right? It's like, I have a client, he's such a great human being, but he rambles. I got him a podcast. They couldn't even use what he did. So we want to try to learn to be like, what is my point? And be succinct and have it leading somewhere, right? I mean, as a comedian, sometimes I'll do a joke and I'll be like, that was just for me, you know? Okay. So, question. Yes, Heather, ask away.
Oh, thank you. So I have heard so much about CapCut and I just now downloaded it. So thank you for reminding me about it. But do I film in CapCut or is it just an editor? Like, am I filming it on my phone, in Instagram? Can I use CapCut to put it onto to YouTube and TikTok and all those things? Give me the goods.
Awesome question. Thank you. Ideally, you want to be shooting on your phones because that's going to give you a lot of options. For example, I used to shoot in Instagram, and then when I would download it, it would have the Instagram icon, and TikTok does not like that, right? And so the whole goal in doing short form is to keep getting in front of people who don't know us, right? And that's why the algorithms, if we all went and watched all of a video from Haley and we all liked it and commented, the algorithm's going to be like, woohoo, and they're going to push her out to more people that don't know her. So that's the ultimate goal with all of this stuff, right? So that we can be in front of new people and keeping top of mind so we can nurture them and love them and invite them to our free thing and come to this thing like that, right? And so shoot on your phone, whether you have Samsung or Apple, and then you can download it right in. And what I love about CapCut is you can trim the beginning, the end, but also the middle, which you cannot do on the other platforms. And you can add text, you can add music, or you can just keep the basic video and it says export. So then it will come back to your phone into your photos. I know this is technical, but so you shot on your phone, you edit it in CapCut, and then you export it back to your phone. And then from there, you can go to the platforms and upload it, right? So that's the ultimate way. And that's why I love it that you can take this one piece of content, 58 seconds or less, and you can put it lots of places. Another reason I love talking about short form is, like I just shared about the website, right? Everybody's website needs to have video. If it doesn't, that's okay. And that's where everything is heading, right? We're going to turn into the Princess Leia being hologrammed by R2-D2. That's how our business cards are going to start being hologrammed with drones, and it's, we're there, right? So you want, sorry, I just lost my total train of thought. Repurpose, reuse, and all the things. Yes, repurpose. Oh, good, just downloaded it. Yes. So sorry, menopause, midlife. So, did I answer your question, Heather? Sorry, I just had a brain fart.
No, you're doing fine. Yeah, you totally answered the question. You just mentioned something about having video on your website, and that's
Oh, right. Yes. Thank you. So what breaks my heart is when somebody has not done video, or it's been a while, and then they're like, okay, I'm going to spend $5,000 on a new website. And they just like practice, and then they shoot it. And it's like a deer in the headlights, right? So that's another reason, like, get good when nobody's following you. Get good and get practice now. Do social media, commit to it. And you just pick one platform. Don't get overwhelmed, but like start practicing, right? So like start doing your social media wherever you're comfortable now. And then once you get in the rhythm and the habit, then think about doing it for your website. Does that make sense? Because yes, it needs to be a little more. I think your website videos can be a little bit more professional, and they're just not quite as casual as the social media stuff, in my opinion. But, it's kind of like when people go, I'm going to do the marathon, but they haven't really trained. It's like, oh God, okay, that's going to be painful. And so, and if you're overwhelmed by the thought of editing and all these other things, then just pick one. Just pick one platform. You can do stuff on Facebook. If you want to be stealth, you can go on YouTube, which is so grossly underused. It's the number 2 search engine, and it is grossly underused. And that's for a whole nother one woman show another time. So, so I'm trying to cover all the bases, all the things. Okay. Do I have a couple more minutes, Haley? I forgot to put on my thing. Okay. Are you guys having fun? Are you breathing? Just get so excited. Okay. So pretend like you're your brain. It's the best of times. It's the worst of times. More information coming at us ever than in the history of mankind, right? Like, let that sink in. It's crazy. It's Dickens. It's so exciting. And it's so, right? And so our poor brains are going, do I need this? Do I need this? Is this interesting? I don't know. There is so much coming at us, right? And so a lot of times our brains don't even register it. So, I already alluded to that. Like, how do we stop the scroll? How do we pattern interrupt? Here's another reason I love stories, because when you have information alone, it's like, right? When you have information plus emotion, it's like, whoa, it is long-term memory, right? I bet some of you could sing, I'd like to teach the world to sing, right? That's from the 70s, but I remember it. It's embedded in my heart and my soul, even though it's about poison sugar water, right? So that's what story is. So the London School of Business did a study where they took graduate students and they told them dates and facts. And they all made like a B, and then 2 weeks later, they took another test and the retention was like 10%. Then they took another similar group of graduate students and they taught them the dates and the facts with story. They added story. And 2 weeks later, the retention rate was 78%. 78%. Now, what I love is Lisa demonstrated the power of story, right? And the beautiful, anyway, the other lady who's doing the hot seats, that's a version of story. So I want you to be thinking about, there are other ways you can tell stories, right? It could be just a super quick, Hey, I just wanted to get on here and brag about my client, Heather. She has done 3 keynotes in 3 weeks and she is on fire. She's so coachable and she takes risks and she's so creative. And these are the kinds of people I absolutely love working with. Thank you, Heather. So I alluded that I'm a coach, but I made it all about Heather and my excitement to celebrate Heather, which is the story brand stuff too, right? And so that's a story. And so I want you to just keep thinking about there's different ways we can show stories, right? So this is fun too. You can do montages, and I'm going to put all my links. I have a free Facebook group with tech videos and handouts in there, Captivate the Crowd. And so, and I come to my master classes because I teach that. There's a super easy way to do montages where you just have 3 pictures, no videos, just pictures. But you can do so much with that and you don't have to be on camera, because there are some days this hair is not happening, right? And so that's another reason I like short form, because you can jazz it up. But you can tell, you can show like a before picture and then something else and then whoa, a result that your people want. And you can do so much with text. So it doesn't always have to be you. Now, you may be like, "Yeah, but it's too much, Elaine." Yes, it can be super creative. So if that's too much for you, then just start with like very basic. Here's a tip. Here's a tip. And I know you're swimming in content and you just forget all the stuff that you know. So I invite you, that's one of my favorite things is I want to train you to be like, that's a Facebook Live, or, oh, that's an Instagram. Oh, that could be a whole video series. Write it down. Honor those thoughts. Somebody mentioned earlier, I had this idea in the shower. Yes, I've studied creativity, Artist's Way, The War of Art, Stephen Pressfield. A lot of times when we're doing something with our physicality, it frees up that other creative side of our brain. I get my best ideas when I'm folding laundry, taking the trash out, walking somebody's dog, right? There's so many things. For me, sitting in front of the computer, I feel like, so I like to move and walk. That's where I get some of my best ideas. And I bet some of you do too. And I bet you might have an inner critic that's like, well, everybody knows that. So I want to invite you. Not everybody knows that. And we need to hear it. We need to hear it again. We need to hear it from you. Nobody does it like you, right? Yeah. Susan says the craziest things were showering and walking. And are you showering and walking at the same time? I'm just kidding. Okay. So anyway, so hopefully you're getting so many ideas, and, you know, keep a notebook if you're like me, old pen and paper, as you're coaching. At a day when you're coaching, you're saying similar things and brilliant things all the time to your clients, to your kids, whatever. So, okay. So I think I am almost out of time. This has been so much fun. Okay. Susan's got to take the dog out and there's a storm brewing. So you never know. She could be showering outside, but it might be dangerous. I don't know. Okay, so I want you to come over to Captivate the Crowd on Facebook to come get the tech videos and the handouts. I also am going to be teaching an improv for speakers in a couple of weeks. So if you want to be invited to that, please put, yes, improv, please. Because when you learn to practice how to deal with certain situations, you won't be scared anymore of the audience. It's like we love the audience, but sometimes there's a little bit of fear because, oh God, right? And so when I teach some basic improv things that I've learned from being a stand-up, you know, what's great about it is you become bulletproof. You're like, okay, I can deal with this. Yes, yes. So I'm going to be doing that in a couple of weeks. So I'll let you guys know, because I think that is just a handy thing for any time. It's good for your podcast guesting. It's always good to have a story in your back pocket, and you don't have to overcomplicate it, right? You can just think of, okay, what are 3 things I want to say about my rock star successful client? So thank you so much for having me. I love this community, Haley. And I was like, oh, I'm so excited to find other supportive, cool, positive vibe people. And I just want to remind everybody that the world needs you now more than ever. There is crazy stuff happening. And I think that entrepreneurs are the future. We have hearts and souls, and we have creativity and persistence that other people don't have. And so I really think we are the future to help heal this planet that really, really needs us. So please Stop being the best kept secret. It is your duty to share your gifts, and we are here to help you with that, so you don't have to do it alone. So thank you so much. I can't wait to see everybody on screen. Woo!